With us, well, low water levels at the Panama Canal are actually causing a traffic jam in one of the largest trading routes in the world right now.
The U.S. has suddenly shut down the Panama Canal, creating a massive disruption in global trade.
The global effort to get goods to store shelves this holiday season could be slowed by a drought affecting the Panama Canal.
With over 14,000 ships typically passing through each year, the canal is now clogged with stranded vessels, leading to chaos. A new $4 billion competitor is waiting in the wings, ready to take over. But with machinery breakdowns and environmental issues piling up, the future of this crucial waterway is uncertain. What happens if this vital route stays closed? Join us as we dig into the potential global impact of this sudden closure. Crisis in the Panama Canal. Mechanical breakdowns, limited space, and environmental issues have caused major disruptions in one of the world's most important shipping routes. The canal's closure, along with the arrival of this new competitor, raises serious questions about the future of global trade. Let's explore what this big change means for trade across the world. To really understand how serious this problem is, it helps to look back at its history. Before its construction, ships that wanted to travel between the Atlantic and Pacific had to take a dangerous journey through the Drake Passage and the Strait of Magellan, both located at the southern tip of South America. These routes were famous for their strong currents and fierce winds, making them extremely risky for sailors. The idea was first imagined by Spanish explorers who were searching for a safer and faster way to connect the two oceans. Their ambitious plan was to cut through the narrow strip of land between North and South America, giving ships a shortcut and avoiding the long and hazardous journey around South America. The idea started to gain traction when Panama, then part of Colombia, was chosen as the location. This decision was partly influenced by the fact that an American-built railroad, established in the 1800s, already followed the proposed route. But this wasn't the worst part. The initial attempts to build began in 1881 under a French company led by Ferdinand de Lesseps, who had previously succeeded with the Suez Canal. Confident in his abilities, de Lesseps began working on a sea-level canal project, which was funded by public investment, despite some doubters. One of these skeptics was engineer Adolphe Gaudin de l'Épinay. After closely studying Panama's geographical and topographical features, he criticized de Lesseps's plan, arguing that a sea-level canal wouldn't work given Panama's challenging terrain. Instead, de l'Épinay proposed a different design that included large artificial lakes created from the Chagres and Rio Grande rivers, which flow into the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. His plan also involved building dams at Gatun and Miraflores to form these lakes, which he estimated would be about 25 meters deep. L'Épinay proposed cutting a path through the mountains and using a system of locks to raise and lower ships to match the ocean's levels. Experts in the field thought it was a good idea, but the French construction team stuck to their original plan and ignored his advice. This decision caused major problems because de Lesseps, the project's leader, didn't fully understand how tough Panama's dense, wet jungles would be compared to Egypt's dry desert. The builders faced huge challenges, pushing their skills to the limit. The Panama Canal's harsh realities. As the project struggled, it became clear that new strategies were needed to make the Panama Canal a reality, a canal that would change global trade and show what humans could achieve. The ongoing issues, including the mistakes made early on, reflect the complex history and the continuous effort needed to keep this important waterway running. Heavy rains and rough terrain stretched from the Continental Divide's mountains to the marshy coastlines. Even with skilled engineers, there was no clear plan to deal with these tough conditions. The machinery, which was designed for the dry environment of the Suez Canal, didn't work well in the challenging setting of Panama. This mismatch caused many delays for the project. The French were just beginning to face the tough challenges that awaited those determined to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. But the real challenges were still ahead. Workers and engineers also had to deal with serious tropical diseases, which caused many deaths. To save money, the French company switched from a sea-level canal to a lock-based model, However, this change didn't solve the basic problems, and the project continued to lose money. The French public lost faith in the project and its leaders. After several failed attempts to save the venture, the company went bankrupt in 1889. Efforts to restart the project in 1894 also failed, and by 1898, all work had stopped. When the Americans took over, they faced severe health issues, tough working conditions, and difficult terrain. They made big improvements by fighting diseases like malaria and yellow fever with better sanitation, mosquito control, and health care. These efforts led to fewer deaths and a healthier workforce. A major success was the construction of the Gatun locks. These locks lifted ships 85 feet up to Gatun Lake, a man-made reservoir created by damming the Chagres River. Ships then crossed the lake and were lowered through the Pedro Miguel and Miraflores locks to reach the Pacific Ocean. Building these locks required massive concrete structures and complex mechanical systems. The hardest part was still ahead. On August 15, 1914, it officially opened, marking a huge change in global sea travel. This new route allowed ships to move between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans much faster, completely transforming international trade and shipping routes forever. Building it wasn't easy. One of the biggest challenges was the Chagres River, which started in the mountains of northern Panama and flowed into the Atlantic. The river's water levels could rise suddenly when it rained, causing a serious risk of flooding near it. In 1906, President Theodore Roosevelt supported Chief Engineer John Frank Stevens's idea to use a lock system, which was based on an earlier French design. This plan led to the creation of Gatun Lake, which was the largest man-made lake at the time. They built a massive dam at Gatun to control the Chagres River, and the lake became a crucial part of the 50-mile route, helping to manage the river's water flow. At the peak of construction, more than 40,000 people were working on the project. The team of engineers and managers was mostly from the US, while the majority of the workers came from the West Indies. They used over 100 steam shovels to dig through a section called the Culebra Cut, which was later renamed the Gaillard Cut, in honor of American engineer David Dubose Gaillard, who led the work until his untimely death. Railroads played a key role in moving materials and equipment, especially through the difficult terrain of the Culebra Cut. This area was prone to frequent mudslides and landslides, which caused many deaths. These unpredictable disasters made it very challenging to manage the soil, and sometimes the ground would suddenly rise due to the pressure from nearby hills. Now that the canal was taking shape, new problems began to surface. A grueling milestone in canal history. In 1907, a major landslide at Cucaracha slowed progress significantly, dumping millions of cubic yards of soil into the canal's path. Despite these harsh conditions, the workers pushed on, often toiling in temperatures as high as 100 degrees Fahrenheit. They dug out 73 million cubic meters of earth using steam shovels, dynamite, and rock drills. Their relentless effort eventually brought the excavation floor to within 40 feet of sea level. As a ship begins its journey through the canal, it encounters 3 sets of locks. Water is transferred from the second lock to the first, slowly raising the ship. Once the water levels in these 2 locks are the same, the ship moves to the second lock. After passing through the third lock, the ship rises 85 feet above sea level and then primarily sails across the vast Gatun Lake. At the far edge of the lake, the ship rises again through the same water gates, but this time in reverse, heading back toward the ocean. The canal was built, but its real test by nature and global trade was just beginning. This smart design relies heavily on fresh water, using about 52 million gallons for each ship that passes through. Most of this water comes from Gatun Lake and Lake Alajuela, with Gatun Lake being the main reservoir. Normally, rain refills these lakes, ensuring the canal can keep operating. But when there's a drought and rain is scarce, it faces serious challenges due to lower water levels, showing how much it depends on a consistent water supply. The Panama Canal is not just an amazing engineering achievement, it's also crucial for global trade, reflecting the state of the world economy. The number of ships passing through often changes with economic conditions. more ships during good times, and fewer during downturns. In severe economic crises, its traffic can drop sharply, highlighting its key role in international trade and as a sign of economic health. The history of the canal's ownership started with the United States, which controlled it from 1914 until 1979. During that time, it was crucial, allowing the quick movement of U.S. warships, especially during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 and in the Vietnam and Korean Wars. But this wasn't the end of the story. On January 1, 2000, Panama took full control, marking a new chapter in its history. Today, it is still vital for global trade. Its strategic location and improved capabilities have boosted the local economy. It has also led to upgrades in local infrastructure and technology, making it more efficient. In 2016, an expansion added new water gates, increasing its capacity to handle more cargo and allowing larger ships, known as new Panamax ships, to pass through. It is facing some big challenges, especially when it comes to managing its water supply. It relies on fresh water from artificial lakes like Lake Gatun and Lake Alajuela. However, during droughts, the water levels in these lakes drop, which could put its operations in danger. If there's not enough water, it could seriously disrupt global trade. While several solutions have been proposed to address these water shortages, some of them could affect nearby communities and natural environments. Even though the U.S. no longer controls the canal, it still plays a crucial role in American strategic interests. The canal allows U.S. naval ships from the East Coast to reach the Pacific Ocean much faster than going around South America, which could be vital during military conflicts. For Panama, the canal is essential for both defense and trade. Any problems with its operation could have a big impact on Panama's economy. With the canal open, attention turned to managing its resources and impacts. Panama's water crisis unveiled. Each time a ship passes through the Panama Canal, it requires a huge amount of water, about 52 million gallons. Rainfall helps keep the water levels in Lake Gatun high, which is crucial for the ships to navigate. However, much of this water eventually flows back into the ocean. The challenge is to find a balance between the water needs of the canal and those of the country's 4.3 million people who depend on these water sources for drinking water. Even though it is one of the rainiest countries in the world, the nation experienced significant rainfall shortages in 2023 due to the El Niño phenomenon, which disrupts normal weather patterns.
2023 has been the second driest year in the history of the Panama Canal.
October 2023 was one of the driest months in its history, making the situation even worse. El Niño events usually last between 9 to 12 months, but they can last longer, especially with the added impact of climate change. Right now, there's a 60% chance that the current El Niño will last longer than usual, raising serious concerns for the upcoming wet season. If this happens, the lakes that are so crucial to the canal might not fill up enough, leading to a water shortage that could hurt both local and international trade. The success of the canal depends on maintaining a delicate balance in the environment, which is now being threatened by changing climate conditions. El Niño plays a big part in this problem, but it's not the only cause. The water shortage affecting the canal also comes from deforestation, especially in the Amazon rainforest. Even though the Amazon is far away, it's still crucial for keeping the water levels steady. This is because the Amazon releases a lot of water vapor into the air through a process called transpiration. This vapor eventually turns into clouds, which bring rain that's important for keeping the region's climate stable. Fewer trees mean less water vapor, which leads to less rain. This shortage of rain threatens the survival of the rainforest itself. If deforestation continues, the Amazon could reach a point where it can't produce enough rain to sustain itself. In such a case, the rainforest would become weaker, release more carbon dioxide, and capture less rainfall, further reducing its ability to generate rain. Studies show that some parts of the Amazon are now releasing more carbon dioxide than they absorb. This makes climate problems even worse for areas like Panama that depend on regular rainfall. The combination of deforestation, reduced rainfall, and higher carbon emissions adds to global climate challenges. What's happening in Panama highlights how changes in one part of the world can have big effects all around the globe. The situation could deteriorate even further.
The naturally occurring phenomenon sees warmer water come to the surface of the Pacific Ocean.
To avoid this, we need to take immediate action to address climate change, stop deforestation, and manage water resources wisely. Protecting the Amazon is crucial not just for its impact on global and local climates, but also for ensuring the Panama Canal operates smoothly. Low water levels affect not only local water supplies, but also regional climates and international shipping routes. The narrowing of the canal has led to some tough choices for those in charge, like reducing the number of ships allowed through each day. Normally, about 36 ships would pass through, but now only around 20 can make it. This cutback puts shipping companies in a difficult position, forcing them to consider expensive and complicated alternatives. The canal now faces tough choices that could change how it operates and affects the world. Economic tolls at the crossroads of oceans. Some companies decide to wait for their turn to go through the Panama Canal, but this means they face high costs and delays that can last for weeks, hurting their profits.
Global shipping is severely disrupted by Houthi attacks on ships heading to the Suez Canal. But across the Atlantic, the other canal vital to international trade, the Panama Canal, is also suffering from major disruption as many fewer ships are now getting through.
Others might choose to pay extra to speed up their passage, but only a few can afford this. Because of these challenges, some are deciding to avoid it altogether, choosing instead to go through the Strait of Magellan or around Cape Horn, even though this adds time and increases logistical problems. The situation gets even more complicated due to recent dangers in the Red Sea, another important shipping route.
Today, a ship attacked by Iran-backed Houthi rebels last month sank in the Red Sea. The British-flagged Rubinmar is the first vessel to be destroyed in their campaign to disrupt shipping in the region.
Attacks on ships in that area have caused many companies to avoid the Suez Canal, which adds more strain to global shipping networks. These disruptions lead to longer delays and break down supply chains, which could result in higher prices and make it harder for countries to control inflation. As the canal becomes more crowded, safety concerns grow too, with ships often waiting for long periods. Several ideas have been suggested to address the ongoing drought that's affecting the canal's operations. One idea is to add seawater to Gatun Lake, the main freshwater source for the canal. However, this could harm Panama's freshwater reserves, which are essential for drinking water. Adding salt water could lower the quality of this water, creating health risks for local communities. Another idea is to divert rivers to increase the water levels in the canal. While this might help with the water shortage, it could have serious ecological and social consequences. Changing river paths could disrupt local ecosystems, threaten wildlife, and negatively impact indigenous communities that rely on these rivers for their traditions and livelihoods. But even if we fix the water shortage, it won't solve the bigger issues. A broader plan is needed to tackle underlying problems like deforestation and climate change. For example, destroying the Amazon rainforest affects weather patterns, worsens water shortages, and adds to global climate instability. To keep the canal working well for many years, it's crucial to protect the Amazon rainforest and address global climate changes. Damage to the Amazon doesn't just affect the local environment. It also threatens the overall climate balance, which impacts how the canal functions. While more people are becoming aware of these issues worldwide, only a few countries in South America are actively working to stop deforestation. Greater cooperation and sharing of successful conservation techniques could make a big difference. The United States, understanding how important the canal is for global trade, is being urged to take a bigger role in fighting deforestation. Balancing the water needs of the canal with the needs of the Panamanian people is a challenging task. The canal's management has proposed building a new reservoir on the Indio River to help with this. This project aims to increase both the canal's capacity and its water supply. However, it would cost about $900 million and could have negative effects on the environment and local communities. The construction could disrupt local wildlife habitats and might involve taking over protected areas, potentially forcing nearby communities to relocate. These concerns must be carefully considered to ensure the project doesn't harm the environment or the people living in the area. Panama's prosperity is deeply connected to the canal, which generated over $32 billion in 2022, contributing significantly to the country's economy. However, the canal's worsening condition, shown by recent operational problems, threatens its ability to support both the global economy and the livelihoods of local people. It's essential to find a way to balance environmental and social needs to secure the future of this important international waterway. The canal, built more than 100 years ago, wasn't designed to handle the extreme weather changes we see today. Back then, people didn't know about climate change or its serious effects. The canal, a marvel of its time, depends heavily on water. But in recent years, there has been a significant decrease in rainfall, which fills the lakes that supply the canal. This has caused water levels to drop about 3 meters below their usual levels. This drop in water level is a big concern, not just for the canal's operations, but also for Panama's economy and the global trade system that depends on this route. The challenges faced show how our world is connected, both environmentally and economically. It's clear that we need solutions that address the current problems while also considering the long-term future of such critical infrastructure. Was the construction of the Panama Canal a short-sighted endeavor given today's climate challenges? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.